We got to remember that, guys. Okay.
All I ask is that you don't die on that day. Do anything you want.
How old will you be?
71.
Okay. Yeah. So you're just like, what, 3 years older than me, I guess. Yeah.
Outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. We're live
Zulma, how
streaming.
old are
Oh,
you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
A year younger than you. I'm 67.
all
No, I'm
right.
69. I'm 69.
Okay, 2 years younger.
I
Well, let's
want
just
credit for being in this stream, okay?
have a competition here. All right.
I've
Zoma
suffered a
Gonzalez.
long time.
This mic is all yours, Zoma Gonzalez, and let me give you the
Oh my
ability to
gosh.
share on the
Oh,
screen.
thank you, Lynn. A magnificent, marvelous, majestic Monday to you all. What is that in your mouth? No, hold it. No. I love my dog. I love my dog. And he loves everything he can get his hands on. It's chewable and biteable and loves paper and he'll eat it if I let him. Eat it if I don't let him. The way he teaching me things, and 6 minutes to 10, he decided I want to go out and I'm going to go out now. So that's what happened, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful, wonderful. Um, yeah. Anyhow, glad to see you all. Good morning, Sharon and Regis, and of course Lynn. And let me go in the Pal Talk room and see who's here this morning. I see Cindy. Hi, Cindy. And Carrie. Outstanding. Great to have you. Great to see you. Great to be you. Great to be you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I was listening to the program prior to this one and with Dove, and I heard a lot of great stuff. Um, the book that he had originally published, Into Oneness, um, I don't remember who I gave it to, but after he signed the new edition of that book, The Open Mind, Loving Yourself, I gave that one away. However, I was able to find it as a Kindle, the old one, Into Oneness. So when you talk about certain pages, which I can't, the Kindle doesn't give you pages like that, but I was able to get Into Oneness, and and it's funny how you think, oh man, I wish there it is, there it is,
Mhm.
there's where the pain,
Yeah.
there's where the pain starts. I wish I hadn't given that book away because that's the classic. And it's if you find it again, if you're lucky enough to find it, blah 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 blah, all that nonsense. Um, uh, but it doesn't matter really. So I don't have page numbers. I did take down the quote though that Dove said, which the course says as well. Somebody please mute themselves. I'm hearing stuff. Sharon, please mute. Thank you. Or Zoom user. That might be Cindy. I don't know. Please mute yourself. For now. Thank you. Appreciate. Because I'm certainly going to open it up. But I was listening to the previous program and it was good. And Dove said something that the course clearly says. He said one of his quotes on page 136, quite simply, don't do what you don't enjoy doing. The course asks, what for? It says, do only this. The course, it asks you what for. If what you're doing, if what we're doing isn't bringing us peace, joy, if we're not laughing and smiling, if not willingly doing what we want to do, then why are we wasting time doing those things? But I thank you for that. And I would like to know what page that's in the new edition. Dove, there's your challenge. Finding that in the new edition, since the pages are all different now. But okay, that's not what I'm here to focus on, but I am. We are here to talk about Course in Miracles meets Science of Mind. I want to thank you, Sharon, uh, Regis, Cindy, and Lynn for joining me here in the room. Open up for this. It's always open for discussion. Always, always, always. I will remind us as we do to mind our mind. Dr. Ernest Holmes teaches that to learn how to think is to learn how to live. And the course teaches an untrained mind can accomplish nothing, reminding us that this is a course in mind training. These are courses in mind training. The mental sciences are all courses in mind training. All learning involves um, involves attention and study at some level. So we were working on I was talking about the miracle principles and how um there was some language that was somewhat conflicting for me after conversation with one of miracle Course in Miracles facilitator teacher, and then we had a great discussion about it, which let me just put that aside and recognize that words are symbols of symbols, that the truth is true across the board, and the way one person words it isn't necessarily the way someone else words it. And that's what we have to work with. Words are what we have to work with, so that's what we're going to work with. Uh-oh, I lost part of my screen, so I can't see. All right, I need to stop share for a minute. Can't stop the shit. There it is. All right. So to mind our mind, that to learn how to think is to learn how to live. That's being very, very, very clear on that. All right. So a few things that came up for me while I was doing some research for these principles. I came across came across talking about divinity, the mental sciences. And Dub was just talking about that. You know, Jesus in the course, the voice of the course is referred to as our brother, that we are not to be in awe of him, but recognizing that in pure form, um, there's more available to us from that voice than we are for ourselves, because we're here in this human form. So we're limited. So in the Science of Mind textbook, the Science of Mind, uh, the book that's considered the text, and I'll just show you that book in case anybody's interested. We're talking about the Science of Mind, definitive edition. It is referred to as, I have it all encased in here. Anyway, so let me find the actual cover here. The Science of Mind, a philosophy, faith, a way of life. And it's the definitive edition. It has to be the definitive edition if you're reading from this. It's kind of like when the first edition of the course, well, from the second edition of the course on, it added more, made it easier to locate different information, different passages. It made it easier. The Science of Mind text isn't written that way, but nevertheless, in 1927, Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote the first edition of this book, and in 1938 he revised it. And I do have a copy of the original. It's less than half of what this is, or I should say, this is 3 times the size of that book. But anyway, in his book, and I'm always, anytime I'm talking about the Science of Mind textbook, I'm always reading from the definitive edition. On pages 161 and 162, he says, mental science does not deny the divinity of Jesus, but it does affirm the divinity of all people. It does not deny that Jesus was the Son of God, but it affirms that all men, all people, are the sons of God. It does not deny that the kingdom of God is also revealed through Jesus, but it says that the kingdom of God is also revealed through you and me. And the declaration that Dr. Ernest had in his declaration of beliefs, he said, I believe in the direct revelation of truth through my intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God, which corresponds to the miracle principle we'll be talking about momentarily. Dr. Ernest also says, because we fail to realize that principle is not bound by precedent, which basically means that's a quote by Thomas Troward, principle is not bound by precedent. What that basically means is that the truth is not affected by yesterday. The truth has nothing to do with what was. The truth doesn't even have to do necessarily with what we think is the future, what we see as future, because in our minds, we're making the future like the past. Everything that we see is based on what we've seen in the past. Principle, truth, the unchanging, is not bound by precedent. Because we fail to realize that principle is not bound by precedent, we limit our faith to that which has already been accomplished, and few, quote, miracles result. When through intuition, faith finds its proper place under divine law, capital D, capital L, for those who are not here reading in the room, there are no limitations. And what we are and what are called miraculous results follow. When through intuition, faith finds its proper place under divine law, there are no limitations, and what are called miraculous results follow. I wanted to point that out. So, okay, we are going into miracle principle number 4, which is that all miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. His voice will direct you very specifically. You will be told all you need to know. From the Science of Mind textbook, page 507, the inner power of life within me is God, and God has all power. And again, to repeat that declaration, that belief of Dr. Holmes is, I believe in the direct revelation of truth through my intuitive and spiritual nature, which is what this miracle principle is saying, that his voice will direct you very specifically. We hear it. We get the information that we need. We get everything that we need we already have it. But we need to be still, and allow ourselves opportunities to engage with God, as the Course teaches, to engage. Anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. And on page 68, Dr. Holmes writes, all seeming change is merely the play of life upon itself. And all that happens must happen by and through some interaction upon itself, and that it is capital I. What would be the nature of this interaction? It could not be physical, as we understand physics, but would have to be by the power, capital P, of some inner movement of life, i.e., the voice of God. God standing for the first great and only cause of all that is. So throughout the Science of Mind text, here and there, Dr. Holmes feels it necessary to explain God as he sees it, or as other great saints and sages have seen it. And in this case, he's talking about the first great and only cause. And what do we say? God is first cause. We are secondary. We think that we are cause, and we are with a small c. But the Course clearly states, as is stated here earlier on, that first cause, the only cause, is what we call God, spirit, energy, life, truth, whatever word we use. Doesn't matter, because it is going to be what it is, whether we choose a word for it or not. In this case, the voice of God, the voice for God, which we call the Holy Spirit, God staying the first great and only cause of all that is. And that was that's what I have on miracle principle number 4. Anybody have any comment, any thoughts, anything they'd like to add to this? Any insights? No. Okay, let me see what's in the Zoom room, if anything. No. All right. Then I will move on to the next miracle principle. I switched over to the Zoom room and there we go. All right. The next miracle principle, principle number 5, states that miracles are habits and should be involuntary. They should not be under conscious control. And that became a key word for me in this. They should not be under conscious control. Consciously selected miracles can be misguided. And Dr. Ernest on page 58 says, not through compulsion, but in a state of conscious recognition and receptivity, being open, engaging, being willing to let the presence, to experience the presence of what's already there. We can close our eyes. Just because my eyes are closed doesn't mean that what's in front of me isn't there. I'm talking from a tangible perspective. Just because my eyes are closed doesn't mean that that what's in front of me isn't there. Likewise, just because I may not think that there is a God, whatever you call it, just because I don't think that it is, doesn't mean that it isn't. It still is. And Dr. Holmes talks about that in terms of the law, the use of the law, whether you believe it or not, is still going to do what it does. The law of gravity, you don't have to believe in it, but no matter what, no matter who throws something up, it's going to come down. Doesn't matter if it's light or heavy, you throw something up, it's going to come down. The law of gravity states that what goes up must come down. The law works whether you believe in it or not. And there's someone who might say, yeah, but somebody was upstairs and I threw something up to them and they caught it and it didn't come back down. Semantics. We're talking about in the natural scheme of things, anything that goes up must come down. The law of God is the law of truth. So in this 5th miracle principle, Dr. Holmes states on page 264, there is that in me, this is part of a prayer, there is that in me which all people recognize as worthwhile and desirable. And everyone whom I meet loves this self of mine and recognizes its worth. This reminds me of Regis. This reminds me of Regis, rhymes with Jesus. Regis, my brother Regis, who says, everybody loves Regis. There it is. There is that in me which all people recognize as worthwhile and desirable. And everyone whom I meet loves this self of mine and recognizes its worth. And I've taken that on too. I've taken that on and I'm finding it. I'm being adopted all over the place. I'm being called aunt now by a young man, young man. I'm being adopted all over the place. I love it. I love it. I used to say, oh, I have no family. I live alone here in Philadelphia. And that's true for, in terms of blood relatives. That's absolutely true. But I have lots of family. Oh my God, there's so many places I can turn from when I have a need to talk, vent, laugh, cry, sing oldies. I have places to turn. Want to study, want to be taught, whatever, want to learn, want to share. There's so many, it's just life is open to me. There are no limits. There are no limits. There are no limits. And I don't know whether the expression, the sky is the limit, became an expression, but that's not even a limit. There's life beyond what we see as sky. I draw all toward me. I'm continuing with Dr. Holmes. I draw all toward me and those whom I can benefit and those who can benefit me are irresistibly drawn toward me. I do not strain, will, or coerce. That was the point of this particular passage from the Science of the Mind text I wanted to bring out. I do not strain, will, or coerce. The miracle principle says that miracles should be involuntary, that they should not be under conscious control. I can say, oh, I'm going to be truly helpful, which is already, a misperception. If I say I'm going to be truly helpful by doing what I think is best for whomever, whatever, but what I think is the right thing to do, what I, that's the mistake. There's the mistake right there. That's turned to control stuff. I don't have any control over stuff. I'm not that person. I'm not in charge. I am not in charge. And realizing it, and it says consciously selected miracles can be misguided. Oh, that's cute. Can be misguided. So I do not strain, will, or coerce, Dr. Holmes writes. I know. The truth makes me free. Miracles are habits and should be involuntary. The idea of loving, I can't force myself to love somebody. Love is it's from within. It's not a thing that I have to do. It's not something I have to do. The heck is this? Oh, it's not something I have to do. It's something that is. It's what I am. Love is what I am. Therefore, it's just a natural part of how I live. In chapter 6, in the message of the crucifixion, we're reminded to teach only love, for that is what you are. Teach only love, for that is what you are. The miracle is the the miracle is the love. The miracle is the love, but not the miracle itself, but the love that inspires it. And that's our source, which I don't have to strain, will, or coerce. I can't. That would be attempting to usurp the power of God. And I can't. So thankful that I can't. Because me thinking I'm in charge has gotten me in trouble every time, every single time. Okay. Let's look at miracle principle number 6. Miracles are natural. When they do not occur, something has gone wrong. They're natural. Going back to principle number 5, they're habits. They're natural. Miracles are thoughts, we find out later on in principle number 12. Miracles are thoughts. We don't force ourselves to think. We don't force ourselves not to think. We just do. We just think. The Course teaches that we can't stop the mind. The mind is always going. We can't stop it. The monkey mind, some call it. Always going. We can learn to slow it down. We learn to be still. We can slow it down. We can meditate. We can take time to be in prayer. We can contemplate. We can kind of start to formulate by deciding to journal, writing it down, giving it time to settle, to get past the chaos and all that, lack of control. But miracles are natural. Thoughts are natural. Being is natural. When it doesn't occur, something has gone wrong. When I'm not thinking, something has gone wrong. Dr. Holmes from page 39 writes, we do not will things to be done. Things are brought into being, not by will, but by the power of the self-assertive truth. Oh, I think this was supposed to go with miracle principle number 5. Yeah, I think this was supposed to go with number 5, a continuation of number 5, because number 5, going back to that miracles should not be under conscious control. We do not will things to be done. But at the same time, because they're natural, things are brought into being, not by willing it to be so, but by the power of the self-assertive truth. And that's truth with a capital T. We're talking about God, by the power of God, by the power of life, by the power of what is. We don't have to will ourselves to express miracles, to perform miracles. We don't have to will ourselves to think it's going to happen. And I'm going to keep bringing that up, that miracles are thoughts. That's very, very important, that miracles are thoughts. So Dr. Holmes states on page 58 and 59, we should not, we should work, not with anxiety, but with expectancy, not by coercion. And this is saying work, we're talking about, performing miracles, not by coercion, but with conviction, not through compulsion, but in a state of conscious recognition and receptivity. We do not have to drive or push. Wait a minute, something just jumped in my screen and got in my way. And I have to let it pass because I can't click on it because it's part of a virus going through my screen. We do not have to drive or push, but we must accept and believe. Accept and believe. Let all things be exactly as they are. Accept all things exactly as they are. Everything is what it is. Accept it as it is, and you shall know the truth. And the truth will make you free. It'll release you from the bondages, the bonds that are holding you back, thinking that you have to control everything, that you have to make everything be, you have to should on it, talking about that everything, how something should be. I was having a conversation this morning with a friend who was talking about, I was talking about a client of mine, and how the client doesn't necessarily use what we call emotional intelligence in certain situations. The client is worried about what her parent is going to think, even though this client, has their own place. They take care of themselves. They're self-sufficient in that regard, but they have this thing where their parent is concerned. And what my friend said, well, they're an adult. What do they care about? What do they, why are they worried about about that? They should, and what I heard was, you think that because someone is a certain age, that they're automatically supposed to have certain degrees of wisdom, that certain understanding is automatically supposed to be there. And then I brought up, are you 100% emotionally intelligent? Do you always, respond to everything from a place of love from within? Or do you not react to things and think that something should be certain ways? And I wasn't just talking to them, I was talking to myself too. Anybody, all of us. It's normal. It's what we do. This is why we need this mind training. This is why, Dr. Holmes says that to learn how to think is to learn how to live. This is the reason why we need study, why learning requires attention at some level. This is the reason why. Not because I'm such and such an age, does that mean that, I'm supposed to know certain things. All I know is that according to my birth certificate, I'm such and such an age. And and what does that mean? And what does that really mean? You line up a handful of people that are supposed to be my age, and then you line up a handful of people and say, okay, so which one of them is such and such an age? And invariably, different people are going to pick different people based on their assumption, their perspective, their perception of what that person is supposed to look like in their mind. When in fact, I'm supposed to look exactly like I'm supposed to look based on, my everything, who my mother was, who my father was, based on based on all that, based on how I take care of myself, all that. It matters in that regard. But I can't say that, I'm such an age, or I've been studying, such and such for such a number of years, and therefore I am emotionally intelligent. And well, wait a minute. That sounds very ego-based. That sounds very much like I think that I am something that I'm not. I think that I am better than someone's who have not, studied as long as I have, or not as old as I am. Now, granted, my 23-year-old can't tell me about being 67. I can tell her about being 23. I can only tell her about that from my experience and the experience of those with whom I was involved with when I was 23. No, she can't. She can't tell me about, what it's like to be 67. She can tell me other people's experiences of being 67. I can share my experiences with her of being 67 and what perhaps her experiences may be when she's 67. But all that is just let the truth be what it is. Let all things accept all things as they are, and believe that what we don't see is actually there. That's what metaphysical means, beyond the physical. We tend to believe only in what we see. We forget that what's the air I breathe, the breath I just took, I can't see it. Oh, but it's there. We do not have to drive or push, but we must accept and believe, Dr. Holmes writes. We should then leave everything to the law. This is a capital L law, and everywhere it appears in the Science of Mind textbook, it's going to be with a capital L, because there's only one law. Now, the course calls it, talks about the law of liberty, and there is somewhere very early in the course where I believe it's where it talks about where we're being asked about fear. Don't be asked to have fear taken from you, but basically the voice is saying I can't do that because I would be interfering with the law of God by doing that. Is that yeah, the laws of God are mentioned more than once in the course. In fact, the words written that way, law of God, is written 44 times in the course. So this law that we're talking about is the law that is the law. The Holy Spirit is the translator of the laws of God to those who do not understand them. When you feel guilty, remember that the ego has indeed violated the laws of God, but you have not. You, spirit, what you are, has not. Because ego isn't real. It believes it is. I can't. I hear the term, and it's it's me with words, semantics. About being in ego. I'm not going. I can't. It's saying I'm in nothing. I'm in nothing, and I hear myself, in my mind always saying, ego thought system. You're hanging out from the ego thought system. You're thinking from the ego thought system, and that is an ego tactic in itself, me thinking that it has to be said this way. We're all doing it, and we're doing it all the time, consciously or unconsciously. When we're looking at how people are living and how I'm living differently from them, and I'm not doing the stuff that they're doing. When now I do look at myself compared to who I used to be, and gratitude, and gratitude for who I used to be yesterday, as well as as soon as recently as yesterday, having a thought uh, that today I may not have, that today I'm grateful that I came through it differently than I would have a year ago, a month ago, a week ago, and then that may not happen today, but that is what we're talking about. We're talking about the laws of God. Let's see if I can get back to this room. Put the course in front of me. It's interesting with when I'm screen sharing. I have to stop the screen for a minute. When I'm screen sharing, if I bring up another, hey, Michaela, good to see you. Didn't know you were here.
Yeah, I
Welcome,
just
welcome,
got on.
welcome.
Thanks.
Um, but if I'm screen sharing and I bring up another screen, like I brought the course up in front of the slideshow presentation, I couldn't, in front of my slides, I couldn't get back to that while I'm screen sharing because everything it goes on top of something else, and I have to move things out the way. So, Michaela, remind me to put my contact information in the chat for you. I would
Okay.
love to sit and talk with you.
Okay, Zulma. Sounds good.
Just in general. Okay. So we were looking at miracle principle number 6, and continuing. Dr. Holmes says we should then leave everything to the law, expecting a full and complete proof of our faith. That's key. The course talks about the development of trust. It's that our faith is key. It's written in the Bible, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, just that much, what the course calls a little willingness. Just a little willingness. We see life blossom. We watch the light shine. We see it shine. We see it come back to us. We get that privilege of enjoying life, of loving life, of recognizing that we are life, that we have life. What we have and what we are is the same. We should not have to drive or push, but we must accept and believe. We should then leave everything to the law, expecting a full and complete proof of our faith. We shall not be disappointed nor chagrined, for the law is our faithful servant. The law is the doer. The law does the work. It doeth the work. We think a thought. We put our feelings into that thought. We have a conviction about it, and we then start living according to it. The law then puts it into the soil, as we say, the thought being the seed, the law being the soil, which then presents a manifestation. So me having this spot from to do A Course in Miracles meet Science of Mind, this seed has been germinating for years. Didn't know how it was going to take place. I originally planned it, talked about it, didn't plan anything, as a workshop that was going to take, a couple of hours, here and there, once a month, maybe, that kind of thing. And then a space opened up here. I said, okay, I'll take it. But I said, I had no idea what I was going to do. When I first started this, coming on this spot on the beginning of November, I was not doing A Course in Miracles meet Science of Mind. And then Spirit said, hey, we've been talking about this forever. Stop dilly-dallying. When are you going to trust? When are you going to believe? When are you just going to let Spirit do what Spirit does? Let the Spirit run your life. Just do it. Just accept and believe, as it says here. And the law said, okay, I got you. You've given me something to work with. And the law went to work. And the next thing I know, here we are. And I'm grateful. All right. I'm going to move into, is there anything, any comment or thought on what's in front of on the screen right now? McKaylee says, I didn't see you when you got here. I don't know how much you heard or anyway. Any comment on miracle principle number 6 or the quote by Dr. Ernest that I have here on the screen? And I have to be able to make sure I can see a hand up. Okay, no hand. All right. So, okay, hand. All right. Go ahead, McKaylee.
Well, I just have a comment about the miracles that when it says when something hasn't occurred, then something has gone wrong. Well, yesterday I was driving in my car, and it was definitely a miracle, but it was also a big classroom for me. So I'm at a stoplight, and I'm pulled far enough behind the car in front of me that I could see the tires. So I have some room that I can move forward. And I heard this bang, and I look. It was instantaneous. It was like I was outside of thought, and my instant reaction was I looked in my rear view mirror as I heard the bang, and it was a big old diesel, and it had hit 3 cars behind me, that car, and it was all occurring like within an instant. And then that car turned into an accordion and hit the car in front of it, and then that car hit the car in front of it, which was the car behind me. So it was all within, I would say, not even a second. And my instantaneous reaction was I put my foot on the pedal and I moved my car forward just enough so that the car behind me could not push into me. And so at that, I realized a miracle had taken place, but I also realized that I'm not special. And so I started praying for all those people that were involved in that accident. And I could not pull my car over to the side of the road to help because of traffic. So I had to keep moving forward. So, and then I saw a state trooper coming with his lights on. So, but it was a really interesting classroom to me to be in that present moment. And that miracle did occur. There was no thought. And also I realized that through Ken Wapnick's class, I realized that, I'm not special. There was no grace put upon me. I needed to pray for these other people because that we're all of one mind. We're all the same. And so it was just an interesting thing yesterday. That's all.
That's great. That's a great because see the one miracle principle going back a bit. Let me see. Going back. All right, everything is there we go. The miracle principle number 4, I believe it is. Yeah, let me go back. Miracle principle number 4 says that his voice will direct you very specifically. You will be told all that you need to know. You didn't even think about it. You just moved up. You were being directed very specifically, being told what you needed to know. Just like that. And Dr. Ernest calls that direct revelation through your intuitive and spiritual nature. There it is. There it was. As simple as that. Perfect example. Thank you. We call it a demonstration in the mental science. What a demonstration. And that anyone, a revealer of truth, here it is. For those who are listening, listen, because McKaylee has just given us a beautiful example of what this means. It's more than words on a page. This is real. This is real. And it happened according to, as the miracle principle number 6 said, it was just natural. Just let me move my car up a little bit. With no thought to what that means. No, didn't question, well, why am I doing this? No, just phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. All right. We should not anxiety, not anxiety, but expectancy, not coercion, but with conviction, not with compulsion, but a state of conscious recognition and receptivity. That's the key. Conscious recognition and receptivity. It just happens. It's just you're aware. Sometimes we're aware that we're not even aware. because consciousness is always happening. That's a given. That's always going on. But how we use that consciousness, as it's said um, in the previous miracle principle, not under conscious control, but with conscious receptivity, with conscious recognition and receptivity. And using McKaylee's case, she was receptive to the idea of moving forward. It didn't even think about it, just enough that her car wasn't hit. Now, does that say that she was more blessed? As she said, she's not special. But she's not more blessed than anyone else. I mean, what their situation, those that were involved in that situation, that's that's their journey. That's their journey. And since we never know what anything is for, we don't perceive the best interest. We may not, they may not perceive that as their best interest, but it's all for their best interest. And what comes out of that for one, a person whose car, is an accordion, if they were able to walk out of that car, even if the jaws of life have to pull them from that car, if they're alive to talk about it, there's always reasons to be grateful. And that's what I look for, reasons to be grateful. In all things, give thanks is the way it's written in the Bible. Only appreciation is an appropriate response is the way it's written in the Course. This is what it's all about. When I can find something to be grateful for in any situation, realizing that the situation itself is going to pass anyway. It comes to pass 727 times. It came to pass in the Bible. 727 times it came to pass. It didn't come to stay. It came to pass. So there'll be a moment when possibly McKaylee will be in a situation and she'll forget that she had this moment, that she had this miracle occur. She'll forget because it'll be something in front of her, something that we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, that in that moment we think that's what's real. Oh my God, I don't know my way out of that. And then we choose to be still. We choose to stop trying to coerce life. We stop trying to force things to happen. We just become conscious of it. We recognize it and become receptive to it. We don't push. We don't drive. We just accept and believe. I'm going to go on to the 7th miracle principle, and we'll have to take up the rest of the time because I didn't plan on another one. But didn't know. So just in case, let's do this. My favorite one. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. And the declaration of Dr. Holmes is that I believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. As we are emancipating, emancipating from the discord, we are purifying. We are entitled. We are entitled to be free. We are entitled to freedom. We're entitled to recognize that we are free because we're already free. We have freedom. We are freedom. But to for all of the bondage that I've put myself through, all the stuff that I've taken myself through, I can't always see that. I can't see it right here. I have more stuff in this house than I need to have. I have quite a bit more stuff in the house that I need. And in some areas, like, oh, I can't believe I can't find that thing. Oh, my God, why do I still have this? Oh, don't I have another one of these somewhere? There's a lot of that. But for my own peace, I have to believe that in the complete emancipation from the discord of every nature. That's a chaotic situation that I am working on, able to talk about at least, something I couldn't always do. Purification is necessary first. The Course teaches in the manual for teachers about in the development of trust, I have to be willing to trust. I have to be willing to know that there really is nothing to fear except the thought. The only thing I'm fearing are the thoughts that I am creating about fear, making them, the thoughts that I'm making about fear, because they come and go. In the section called Take the Christ Way to Fulfillment, pages 554, page 564 and 565 of the Science of Mind text, it is written, when Jesus said, no man cometh unto the Father but by me, of course he means the I am. This I am then means the inner reality of every man's nature. Hey, wait, I have to move this over so I can see better. Okay. And when we stop to figure it out, how can we come unto God, the living spirit, except through the avenues of our own consciousness, which is the only approach to God we can possibly have? It is another way of saying that the only way we shall ever approach reality with a capital R is by uncovering the divinity with a capital D already latent within our own consciousness, in our own soul, in the center of our own being. Everyone is divine, and the Christ way is the way of the unfoldment of his divinity through his humanity, the uncovering of his spiritual individuality, and the use that his personal man, personal self, or his personality makes of it. Meditation is for the purpose of consciously recognizing one's divinity and uncovering it. In order to come into the Christ way, and by the way, this Christ way, it made me think of the infinite way, which is the Christ way. There's only one way. There's only one way that leads to the peace that we desire. And that is by realizing Christ, being in Christ consciousness, recognizing the sonship, realizing the oneness, realizing that we are each other's saviors, that we are our own saviors, that there's nothing to be saved from. All that, the Christ way. In order to come into the Christ way, into the consciousness of our own divinity, we lay aside every fear or doubt or worry. What did the miracle principle say? Purification is necessary first. In order to come into the Christ way, in order to have the miracles are our right, that it's everyone's right, is our right. We have the right to have miracles. In order to come into the Christ way, we enter into the silent, peaceful In order to come into the Christ way, into the consciousness of our own divinity, we lay aside every fear or doubt or worry, and we enter into the silent, peaceful contemplation that the Spirit of the living God is within us. All the capital P power there is, all the capital P presence there is, and all the capital L life there is right here. Each one turns to himself, knowing that the Spirit within me is God. That Spirit is perfect, and because that Spirit is perfect, my knowledge of that Spirit destroys every doubt, every fear, casts out all uncertainty and all belief, and fills me with the knowledge of my own perfection. Miracle principle number 7, miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. Spirit is perfect. My knowledge of that Spirit destroys every doubt, every fear, casts out all uncertainty and all belief. That's purification. There is that within me which is perfect, divine, happy, and whole and harmonious. What the Course refers to holy, it also says that holiness is wholeness. There is that within me that has never been afraid, never been limited. And it is this Christ nature within me that I now recognize and speak into manifestation through my being. That the spirit within me, which is perfect, shall remove every consciousness of dis-ease. Purification is necessary first. Shall stimulate activity and recognize perfect circulation of these divine ideas, and establish within me not only the knowledge of that divine perfection, which I really am, because remember, we are what God is, but shall establish in my physical being a manifestation of that knowledge of reality. Michele moved the car forward. That's physical manifestation. Establish in my physical being a manifestation of that knowledge of capital R reality, or the realization of that capital P presence. And whatever there might be within me which does not belong is now eliminated, cast out, and destroyed. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. That's why we learn how to think. We learn how to think so we can learn how to live. That's why it's important. It's important to have a trained mind. That's why attention and study is necessary at some level, so that whatever there may be within me which does not belong is eliminated, cast out, and destroyed. Purification, purification, purification. Okay, can I finish this last sentence, and then you've got it, Michele, because we're coming up on time. Divine guidance is, and that perfect intelligence is now governing the activity of my life into the fulfillment of joy, into the fulfillment of love, of unity, of happiness, and success, now and at all times. That's the Christ way. Go ahead, Michele.
I was just going to say what's so interesting about it, purification is necessary first, is that, words are but symbols. So in that moment that the physical body within the stream reacted and moved the car forward so that the car behind me didn't hit me, there were no words. I didn't even have to go to my right mind. That was what was so interesting about it. It was just, nothing told me to do it. It was just, I just did it. So it's kind of like, it makes me think about, like, if you see a child in a pond and it's, in the water and you got to pull it out, it's instantaneous what you do to assist. You don't need to take seconds and ask your right mind and actually even be the observer. There's a state outside of that observer where you are just it at every moment, and you just know what to do. It's instantaneous. So that's the purification, is that you are in that state at all time, because that's who you really are. That's our real state.
And it's interesting you say that. Thank you for that. But you actually, you were being told you didn't have to ask. You didn't have to ask consciously anyway. But miracle principle number 4 is that the voice directs you very specifically. You're told all you need to know. You didn't have to ask, because you're saying, so you didn't have to go to your right mind. You were already in your right mind. You were there and weren't even conscious of the fact that you were. But there you were. There you were. And how wonderful, how wonderful. Michele, I put my information in the chat for you. Please make a note of it. Send me a text message with your name in it so I'll know it's you. Otherwise, no. And I'm on time. I'm in time. I'm out of time, actually. That reminds me of a poem. I'll do that next. I'll do that on Thursday. Lynn, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for joining me. And and feel free to take the Christ way to fulfillment, remembering that we are one. We are one, and only appreciation is an appropriate response. Remembering that everything is either an extension of love or a call for love, but it is all love. Teach only love, for that is what you are. And with that, Lynn, I turn over the mic.
Thank you so much, Zulma. And